right, here we go. Sons of the Hunt podcast, episode number 7. We're doing Meleagris today. We've got a special guest, Hunter Wallis, with us. We're going to look at some turkey footage.
Thank you very much, man. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you.
Appreciate
it, fellas. It's we'll have some fun.
Yeah.
Discuss some good turkey hunting.
Yeah. So basically, we went over it a little bit. We're just going to go through our turkey season from last year.
Cool.
Two hunts that we filmed that actually came out in a similar style. So.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how that happened.
Yeah,
I'm sure you got a couple stories. I'm sure you killed a bird or two maybe last year.
Yeah.
I've got all kinds of questions about that. So, so we'll just get right into mine. I know that
I see how you roll.
I have like a little intro set up that just played. You didn't see it, but it's gonna play.
Yeah.
And basically, what ended up happening is I caught up with 2 birds that my wife and I were actually on the week before, and she was pretty much set up like we had these 2 birds stuck together, but they were again stuck with hens.
Yeah.
And
that was earlier in the season.
Yeah, that was actually, I think that was the first day.
Yeah.
'Cause I think I shot mine the second week, but basically what happened was in the morning I set up in that corner of the field where we had those 2 gobblers stuck with that hen. I set up there with what's that, the Thunder Chicken Strutter, something like that, and then the Avian X in front of me, and I had them right over the hill, gobbling like that knoll of that hill right there.
Yeah.
And I don't know, they just wouldn't commit, and then they ended up turning and kind of going away towards this creek. So the one thing I know at this farm is that I could always circle up and head up to the top of the mountain, call up there, see what's going on, and then usually by the time I make my way back down, like later morning, like there's turkeys in the field.
Something else is spilling up, yeah.
And it always seems like I get that like 10 o'clock bird like going again, like that like later morning bird.
I know some guys that don't go out until 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
They don't bother getting up early.
It's effective, yeah. It's definitely effective.
So basically, I made that circle. I got up to the top of the mountain. I had a funny encounter up there that we'll get into later. But as I was coming back down the mountain, I think it was a crow call that I let out, and they shot gobbled. And I knew where they were in relationship to the field where I was in the morning. So I was actually able to make a circle and get up along this field's kind of a funky shape. It's the same field that I hunt for deer. You see a lot of my deer footage is filmed in this field. So I worked my way along this edge, and I set up right where, I knew they were just around the corner. I crawled out, put my decoys out, and got back, set up. And I assumed they were with hens because they weren't gobbling actively.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of what I went after right away. I just started after the hen pretty much, trying to get her fired up. And essentially that's what ended up happening. She was actually leading this, and I really didn't get much of her. But then they came right around this corner. You can see that's pretty much the field edge there. And, the rest was pretty much history. It was, I was telling you earlier, this is probably what I'm the most proud of, filming this. We were talking how much harder it is to actually self-film a turkey hunt than it is like
a deer hunt.
Like a deer hunt, like bow hunting. Like I could do that all day, it feels like now. But compared to this, where I had the camera, the tripod spread all the way out in between my legs and trying to hold up like my Ultimag, and then and I'm using a DSLR, so it's manual adjust with everything, and it was something else, man. It was tough, but
yeah, I mean I've screwed around with self-filming deer and stuff, and you're just obviously you're not eye level, so you can get away with so much more movement and everything like that. When with a turkey, you're right in line with them. So any little type of movement they see are done. So, yeah. I've never tried it. I don't know if I want to be honest with you. I'll leave that up to you guys.
It's a fun challenge.
Yeah.
It's a whole new dynamic.
Yeah.
I mean, I've gone out, and like I said, I've been trying to kill one with the bow for an awful long time, and I did a little bit of self-filming with that, and man, talk about magnifying the difficulty level.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I had some issues with my bow, so I didn't take it out last year. So I just grabbed the shotgun and went. And wouldn't you know, you saw some of it too.
Yeah.
Come up with that later, but it was, you shake your head sometimes.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah. But anyway, I ended up getting these two gobblers, and the sound's coming over the TV. I wish it wasn't, but I essentially ended up just getting them. I think the shot ended up being like 48 yards. So
Yeah.
it was a pretty long shot, but they were still following that hen. I finally got her to turn that corner, but she was kind of heading out. I think she was going to make a circle around for the decoys. But then eventually I had to get the gun up over the camera, and I finally got them right out in front of me. And like I was saying, the lighting was just good, and this is just a really,
Pretty scene, that's
yeah.
for sure.
that's just
It
magic.
doesn't get much better.
I know, right?
Yep. When it works out like that, that's a good day.
And then this almost made me feel bad because these two were hanging around all season with
Yeah.
each other, and he didn't even run. If there was somebody with me, this would have been
Perfect.
money.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it took me a long time to actually film a hunt like that,
Yeah.
like where you're actually calling them in. I've shot turkeys on film before, but my tactic was always like get by a stone wall and use the stone wall almost like a blind, get on one side of it or something where I could get away with movement. And I did that in the past, but yeah, this was the first one where I was just totally exposed out in the open and able to make it all work and actually make it look halfway decent.
Yeah. Oh, it's for self-filming. That's about as good as it gets right there. That's
Yeah.
pretty on.
So you get a day like that come together like that, man. It's like for all those days, how many
That
days
they screwed
that
you
just
and-
suck?
yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you get a day like that makes it
All work.
okay to get up at 3:30.
Yeah.
Roll out of bed when it's raining.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, I know it's gonna suck, but there's that potential.
Yeah.
There's that potential.
that
It's
one
there. You know
chance.
it. It only takes a second.
And then, yeah, because it was the week before that, when I filmed Bridget on that. I don't know if you ever saw that footage, but that was actually some of the best footage that I
Yeah, this is
filmed.
great with this bird strutting out in the field like that.
I mean,
When you don't have a gun in your hand, it's a little bit
yeah,
easier.
because now I was just filming for her. This is the first time she's ever been out.
Yeah.
And we called this turkey in like absolutely perfect, and she actually had Jay's 20 gauge, and right there he was at like 30, 35, and I was like, wait,
Just a touch,
like
yeah.
let's get him a little closer. But I mean, this was probably the best turkey footage I ever filmed.
How's that for a first go?
Yeah.
At turkey
So,
hunting?
I mean,
you get to
she's
sit and
like-
watch that for a
That's
while.
awesome.
You know what I mean?
I know my first couple hunts didn't work out that way. That's
Right?
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, either. I hunted 5 years before I killed a bird. I mean, I didn't really know what the heck I was doing. That was back in like the mid 90s when I started doing it. And me and my buddy, we hunted birds for close to 5 years before
Really?
we even killed a bird. We were
Really?
trying to figure out
Yeah.
how to call them. I mean,
Yeah. Oh, it takes some figuring out. I mean, I've been lucky to have some good teachers.
Right.
You know what I mean? And if it wasn't for that, I'm sure it would take me a pretty long time too.
but that's it. There was no YouTube.
None of that stuff, yeah,
like internet was
exactly.
barely a thing. I'm sounding old now, but it's just one of those things.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, the reference that's out there now to
Yeah.
really help out. That's probably one of the coolest things about like the big social media movement is
Yeah.
how much you can learn from other people on it. But yeah, man, to sit in your first day turkey hunting ever and watch this big guy
Yeah.
do his thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was still a good experience regardless.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it was. After that,
Oh,
she
she shot at?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, she
I didn't
missed.
know that she missed it.
Yeah, she missed. But after that, we actually hunted until noon that day. We hunted the full day, which I didn't expect her to want. But I mean, that kind of lit a fire in her. She was ready to go. So we're gonna get back after it this year. I mean, that farm was on fire last year, so
Yeah.
I'm hoping that we've got a similar situation this year.
Yeah. Was that the same place you killed yours then?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was actually where he flew. If you did you see when he
Where it
like,
L
took off?
shaped there? Yeah, like
Yeah,
you were saying.
he flew
yeah.
right towards where I
Cool.
ended up shooting mine. So Jay's kind of was a similar situation as far as
A little bit, yeah.
the tactic behind it.
exactly, yeah, tactic of calling them in, and that was one thing I mean, I kind of learned by accident My buddy Damien, I helped him. I called his first bird in for him when we hunted together for a long time, but he was never really into turkey hunting.
Yeah.
So I'm like, let's just go give it a try. I had a little bit of success with it, so we went out and we were just a slow morning. And he's like, he'd never called before, so he's like, let me try the slate. I'm like, go ahead. So he was making this god awful noise on it, and I heard a hen answer it. So I was like, all right, well, let me have the call back, get your gun up, you never know. And so she'd yelp 3 times, I'd yelp 4 times. She'd cluck and purr, I'd do it 2 times, and I just one up her, and she just got hella pissed. And she came in, sure enough, big gobbler came in right behind her. He never made a sound. He walked in right behind her, and he got his first turkey out of it. So I was like, all right, that's kind of how I figured out to maybe target the hen at times.
Yeah.
That might be a good tactic. And so I've done it a few times since then. And when I set up on this hunt, I could have swore that those birds, because a buddy of mine, my buddy Damien, he got real bit by the turkey bug. So he was hunting here 2 days earlier, and they were roosting in the trees behind where I'm actually sitting in this video. So it's like a big, huge field, and there's strips of woods on each side. So I was in this strip of woods where I was convinced the birds were roosting.
Yeah.
As soon as daylight started breaking, I heard them gobbling completely on the other side, like 400 yards on the other side. I'm like, oh man, this is going to be a long morning.
Yeah.
Flew down, and I watched him strut, watched a decent gobbler. He came down, he flew down, he strutted around for a little while, and some gobbling, that kind of thing. I didn't do too much calling because of how far away he was.
Yeah.
He knew where I was.
Yeah,
you know what I
exactly.
mean? I let him know in the morning where I was at, so he's either going to come or he wasn't. And after a little while, he just got real sketchy. And, he dropped out of strut and just beeline right over the ridge. There's some pretty cool footage where it's like, I'm baffled. I'm like, what the hell's going on? What's going on with this bird, And he just beelines it over the hill and he's gone. And right after that, I just look over and here comes this big boss Tom, and he comes out of the woods with a herd of deer with him. He had another gobbler with him. And in fact, the gobbler that was with him, I'm almost convinced was the brother of the one I shot. I mean, they looked exactly alike.
Yeah, that's usually when you get a group of gobblers together like that. They're usually brothers.
Yep.
So,
Yep. And this guy, he was a good bird. This big one. But he came in, but he was already henned up, so he had no interest in coming 400 yards to see what I was up to.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what? Maybe I can get under the skin of those hens and just draw them in. So I just started getting real aggressive with a call. I just had a slate call on the ground and just calling, and it didn't even sound that great. It was actually pretty brutal. One thing you find is some hens out there, live hens, they sound like ass. They're just terrible.
Yeah. Every once in a while
like
you
they
get
sound
one
sick.
that's like,
Yeah.
man, that's not the best sound I've ever heard in my life. But hey, it's that. I think a lot of it has to do with like frequencies and stuff too.
Yeah.
As long as I got that right frequency, it'll make a turkey know that it's a live turkey. Because there's definitely a little bit of an edge there.
Sure.
I mean, a lot of people, you say, you don't have to be the best caller in the world to call on a turkey. I mean, you don't.
Right.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you'll see difference. There's definitely a little difference in when you get that. Yeah, and like I said, you don't have to be the best in the world, but when you get that next step up, it definitely helps out.
Well, that's definitely what I've been gathering. When I watch your footage, it just seems like it's just there. There's just something different. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I mean, I could use a mouth call, and that's pretty much what I predominantly use just because of self-filming, like doing other things. Like I don't really touch a slate, and I don't even carry a box call with me.
Yeah.
I have a gobbler.
I don't either.
I'll hit that once in a while just to try to get something to shot gobble, but other than that, I just have one call in my mouth pretty much. That's something we can get into, having multiple calls, but you gotta finish up how this went.
Yeah.
Because this was.
Yeah, well, this is really
legit.
cool because it was funny. I almost kind of called it. Like, there's one part in the video I'm like, all right, I got to be careful. I think that other bird might try to sneak around on me.
Yeah.
Because when he bailed, it's like a big hill that goes down into like bottomland, so all like pines and stuff like that. There's a swamp down there, so it goes downhill. So he went down over that hill. So I'm thinking, man, if he sweeps around on me, I'm never going to see him coming. But I was so focused on trying to call those hens, and I kind of forgot about them for a minute, Because they were coming. Those hens were coming. And there's actually footage of the hen. She's only 25 yards from me coming through the grass, the boss hen. And I was so focused on her, and I kind of just caught movement out of the right side of my eye, and I'm like, holy crap, he's right there.
Yeah.
Man, he's on top of me. So trying to move a camera when a bird's that close. I mean, he was
tough, yeah.
10 steps.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, I'm trying to like wait for him to turn his back because he was fanned out. So I'm like, if he turns his back, he's never going to
That's
see
when
me
you're
move.
golden, yeah.
Focus and, you know, just pick your timing when the birds, because I mean, they could see what, like 350 degrees
Yeah.
around their
Pretty
head.
much, unless their tail's up, I mean, pretty much
Yeah.
they can see it, you know.
So it was hard to be patient to not, you know, get busted with him that close, but you know, got to zoom in and, you know, focus as best I could with, you know, the scene that was going on. And
Yeah, again, you're filming with a DSLR too.
well, I'm filming with that, so that's
Yeah.
technically not even a DSLR. It's like one of those bridge cameras or whatever.
Right.
But you know, I like it because one, it's weatherproof, air quotes. But I don't have to buy a bunch of lenses for it, so I can zoom
that
out
makes it
real
a lot
good
nicer,
and that
especially
kind
when
of
you're
thing.
hunting. Yeah.
That's it. It's simple. But yeah, I pounded that bird at like 10 steps, and he flopped his tail off. There's feathers everywhere. It looked like a pillow fight in that field. It was a mess.
Yeah. Well, hey, man, that's a sign of a good day. You know that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Either a really good day or a really bad day. You know, right there.
Yeah. It's like, you know, I hammered him, and as soon as he starts flopping around, I look over, and here come the hens and the gobbler. There's footage of them kind of coming up over the hill to me.
Yeah.
So it was cool to watch them. I mean, it felt good because I did what I wanted to do.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, it's one thing, you know, I've gotten lucky a bunch of times.
Yeah.
I just sat in the right place and didn't even have to call. A bird flew down in my setup or something like that. And,
Yep.
you know, those are fun and all. But when you're like, all right, I'm going to quarterback this play. And, and it works.
And it works out. It's a whole
Yeah.
different level. Yeah. There's no doubt about it.
that was one of my favorite hunts. Outside of my, you know, calling a bird for my boy, that was probably one of my favorite hunts.
That's
It was
great, man.
Yeah.
It's a great hunt.
But I mean that technique of calling a hen, I feel like it's overlooked so often. Everyone just wants to get that gobbler going.
It is.
You
It
know?
is, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean the birds I called in, they only gobbled that one time right off the bat, and then they didn't gobble again until I hit them with that little cluck and right at the end.
Yeah.
And that was it. So they only gobbled those two
Yeah.
times.
Yeah, I mean, calling to hens is huge, especially in the early part of the season. You know, when they're more grouped up and stuff, and later in the day and stuff. Generally, those first couple weeks of the season, there's a good chance they're always going to have a hen with them at some point throughout the day.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And there's points where there won't, but you know, like you could get that hen fired up and Ivy's with her. I mean, there's not much to explain about that. I mean, he's going to come in,
Yeah.
and like you said, sometimes they don't gobble much, and a lot of people that hear a hen, they just keep walking.
Mm-hmm.
But if they have a hen, they don't need to gobble. So a lot of you want to listen for them to drum a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Those hens when they're strutting, they'll always be drumming. So if you're listening for that drumming, you'll know he's there.
Yeah, first bird I ever shot, 2000. I shot my first spring gobbler, and he never made a sound.
Yeah.
Never made a sound. I just got lucky and was looking in the right direction when he came up over the hill,
Yeah,
you know? And I got to kind of reposition myself a little bit, and that was another one I shot real close. He was maybe 12, 15 yards when I shot him.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a lesson when it never made a sound. Because,
Never made a sound.
up until that point, we turkey hunted, and you always hear him gobble. That's how you find him. That's where you know what to set up, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So we were just like, it's a bum morning. There was three of us hunting, and our one buddy he had a cough. So he was like, had a cold, so he was coughing. So he's like, I'm going to leave. I'm going to go back to the truck. I don't want to spook him. So we were like, he already was coughing. We're done.
Yeah.
We'll sit it out for a little while. And sure enough, bird came in, never made a noise. It's still to date my biggest bird yet. It's like 11-inch beard. He only had one spur though.
Really?
One leg, no spur at all, not even broken off, just a
Just
blank
grow
leg.
Yeah.
Yep.
You'll see that sometimes. Well, like you said, you'll have bum mornings like that, not hear him gobbling. I can tell you fellas right now, we're blessed up here because there's not many mornings like that. You go to
I know.
right where we're just coming back from South Carolina and Alabama and stuff like that. I haven't, there's no set reason why I think why they do it maybe is just because they don't have a real winter, why they don't gobble quite as much.
Right.
Yeah.
But, here, you'll have those mornings where they don't gobble much, but down there, any type of weather, like a little rainstorm, maybe the wind's blowing 10 mile an hour, it's cold,
Yeah.
nothing. I mean, it shuts them completely
Really?
up.
No
Yeah,
kidding.
and you could expect it. If you're going out down there, you want to make sure you have a good day because if something is wrong, they will not
shut
say a
down.
word. They just
See, that's
won't
wild,
say a
'cause
word. It's tough.
I've had great days in the rain
And
here.
the rain here
Yeah.
is especially if you're not gonna ruin your camera,
Yeah.
is a blessing if you ask me. It's
Yeah.
a great,
I got poured on. You got poured on. Was it
2 years ago?
I think it was the same day.
It was
we were hunting.
Yeah, we were both out the same
we got
day.
absolutely
We were
drenched.
Slow morning.
Yeah.
Text
I,
each
I
other.
have that little umbrella thing that I
Yep.
screwing to the tree, and I still got soaked right to the bone. I ended up putting the camera in the
I lost
bag
my
and
cell
putting
phone
it
that day.
in another bag, and yeah, your
Like
cell
not
phone got
lost it,
fried.
like it got trashed. It was wet.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we got
Yeah, that
it was
sucks.
just a
But it's
downpour.
100% worth being out in the rain. For
Oh,
That
turkeys.
was
for
it.
sure.
I
Yeah.
I should have shot that bird with my bow, but I missed him. I got that on film too. That was pretty cool. My buddy filmed it. My buddy Damien. He's all about turkey hunting now, but he was just sitting off to the side with a little handy cam, and he did a great job. But I just two gobblers came in after the rain slowed down. That's when I heard them. They were way down this hillside. So I figured I'm just going to get real loud with the mouth call, because that's when I started using the mouth call. Honestly, was when I started bow hunting.
Yeah.
Because you kind of need your hands.
You need to, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And they were hot, and they both came up, and they walked right in front of me, like 5 steps in front of me. I was just leaning against a tree, no blind, just out in the open, and they walked out. Talk about having to be patient, man, with 2 sets of eyes on you.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
had to wait for them to get behind a big tuft of grass in the field so I can draw on them, and I just choked.
Yeah.
I whiffed.
You know what happens?
I hit it right
happens, no
across
doubt.
top. I mean, I thought it made a heck of a sound when I shot, but we searched, we found the arrow, there was nothing on it. When I went back and looked at it, see, I just took a couple feathers. He was a
Right
strut.
off his top, yeah.
So he was struts, took off him. But
Mhm.
you know, the rain is absolutely. I've had a couple of really good days in the rain, man.
Yeah.
Real
Especially if you
real
got
hot.
somewhere with open fields, like, you know,
Yeah.
it looks like both the places you guys hunt have those open fields, because
Yeah.
when you get that rain like that, obviously turkey doesn't have a sense of smell at all. So to be safe, they got to go out in the open, because
Yeah.
something could sneak right up on them
Yep.
easily. So when it pushes them out to the fields, it makes it a lot easier to hunt.
Oh, for sure.
And up here, I don't notice that. I mean, when it's raining, they'll gobble. Sometimes they'll shut them up a little bit, but
Yeah.
they still gobble pretty good, it seems
Yeah.
to be.
Did you do a lot of traveling last year, hunting?
Yeah. Last year we did a lot. This year started off in Florida last week, and then finished up in South